When you want to know what's inside your bottle of bubbles, you may often be faced with an array of abbreviations. Although confusing, they can tell you a lot about what's inside your bottle of champagne and where it comes from before you've even tasted it. Let's start with the type of producer that made the champagne. Every bottle will have a 2-letter abbreviation, usually in very small print, that signifies what type of producer it came from. Although there are a few of these abbreviations, there are just 3 key ones to remember.
RM means récoltant manipulant in French. Récoltant manipulant means it's a winemaker who owns his own vineyard and makes only his wine from these vineyards.
Otherwise known as grower champagnes, récoltant manipulant wines are made by smaller producers and display a lot of character. These growers are very much the backbone of the champagne industry, with the major houses buying the majority of their grapes from these growers to sustain their own production.
NM is a bit different because NM producers have the possibility to buy grapes. NM producers can own land, vines, he can work and make his wine from it, but he can also buy grapes from other producers in Champagne.
These are the major champagne houses. Though there are only a few hundred of these houses compared to the 15,000 growers in Champagne, they make up around 70% of total production and almost 90% of export. Within this group of champagne houses are the 24 Grand Marques, the big names that most people associate with champagne.
And the last one is CM, it means coopérant manipulant. This is the same type of producer as the récoltant, so it means they own the land, they gather together to be able to have a press, a cellar. Like this, it's easier for them to manage because usually CM producers are much more smaller in terms of size.
Then there is the dosage of the wine, or how much sugar has been added to give the champagne its sweetness.
Dosage of the wine is the very last step in the making of champagne. It's an addition of wine and sugar that you put at the end before to put the definitive cork. It's what will help to have a good balance and good harmony in the wine.
The most common dosage terms are brut, with no more than 12 grams of sugar, extra brut, with no more than 6 grams of sugar, brut nature or brut zero, where no sugar is added, and then there's demi-sec, with over 32 grams of sugar. Next up is the year or vintage of the wine. This will be stated on the front of the bottle and will indicate what year the wine was produced in. However, the majority of champagnes are a blend of vintages, referred to as non-vintage instead. Although non-vintage champagnes will not state a year on the front label, you may find a year on the back. This number represents the base vintage and indicates in which year the majority of grapes in the wine were picked. Champagne labels may even tell you exactly how long the wine was aged for. This is known as the date of disgorgement and tells you exactly when the wine was disgorged, before the bottle was finally corked and eventually released for sale. The vast majority of champagne is white, made from a blend of red and white grapes. However, you may see the term Blanc de Blanc, Blanc de Noir, or even Rosé on the label. All 3 denote a very particular style or blend of champagne.
Blanc de Blanc means made with Chardonnay, which is the white grape. So Blanc de Blanc means white champagne made from exclusively white grapes.
Blanc de Noir is the opposite and is made exclusively from black grapes. All grape juice is white though, and it's merely the skin of the grape that gives wine its colour. To make a Blanc de Noir, winemakers will press red grapes very quickly and remove the juice from the skin, ensuring the liquid stays white. This means that Blanc de Noir are not as easy to spot in the glass as one might think. As for Rosé, there are actually 2 ways to make it in Champagne. First, there's blending, which is adding red wine to an existing white wine base. And then there's saignée or bleeding, which is leaving the grape juice in contact with the red skins to extract the desired amount of colour. However, rarely will the method be stated on the label. Finally, there is a growing importance in the style of agricultural production in the wine and champagne industry. Organic and biodynamic farming practices are becoming ever more popular, with many winemakers aiming to use non-synthetic and more environmentally friendly substances. Vegan wines are also gaining a lot of popularity. Many wines use animal products like gelatin or egg whites as fining agents. These substances are able to soften and reduce bitterness in wine, as well as remove proteins that can cause a wine to be cloudy. However, vegan wines use alternatives, such as activated charcoal, removing the necessity for animal products. Look out for the EU symbol for organic or for the words biodynamic or vegan on the label to know if your wine follows these production methods. But even if wines abide by these rules, they won't always be labelled as such, so the best way to find out is to get to know individual producers. Champagne labels won't always give you every piece of information, but it's much easier to buy a bottle with confidence once you understand these basic elements.